For those of you who haven't been here before, my name is Dan Lear. I'll be the host today of our tremendous session. I am an amyloidosis patient, and I also am the moderator, if you will, for the Somebody to Talk To weekly event. And I was diagnosed in 2017, and I did 3 different types of treatment through 2019. And so I'm excited to be here and share all this information and empowerment. What I like to share with people, it's, we didn't choose this fight, but we can choose how to fight it. And so I like to approach everything with a positive mindset. And obviously, you know that from being here week after week. So, all right, y'all. Well, let's get started. Today, we'll be learning more about ATTR cardiac amyloidosis, or ATTR-CM, and the treatment option, Attruby. The guest speakers today include Dr. Barry Trachtenberg, a cardiologist treating people with ATTR-CM, Ken, a person living with ATTR-CM, and he was also an Attruby clinical trial participant, and Heather Polk, who leads a team focused on financial assistance and support with Attruby.
Okay.
First up today will be Dr. Barry Trachtenberg. Dr. Trachtenberg is a cardiologist specializing in heart failure, heart transplantation, cardio-oncology, and amyloidosis. Dr. Trachtenberg received his Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Pennsylvania and attended medical school at the University of Texas, San Antonio. Dr. Trachtenberg will provide an overview of ATTR-CM and Attruby. Dr. Trachtenberg, it's over to you.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you guys for having me here. I see several familiar faces to me. It's great to see, and hopefully we'll be able to have a good conversation. So I know for a lot of you, some of this may be redundant, but for others it may not be. So we'll go through and talk a little bit more about understanding ATTR cardiac amyloidosis, or ATTR-CM. So ATTR-CM, so amyloid, the A is for amyloid, the TTR is for the transthyretin, the protein we're going to discuss. CM is for cardiomyopathy. So amyloid due to TTR causing cardiomyopathy is a very serious progressive heart condition. There's a lot of symptoms that are associated with ATTR-CM. They can be extremely debilitating, and they can range from heart symptoms like irregular heartbeat, shortness of breath, feeling fatigued, having swollen legs and feet, and then having gastrointestinal problems, including diarrhea, constipation, weight loss, and a lot of nerve issues, including painful nerve findings. And if these are not treated and diagnosed accurately and timely, this issue can become very serious, and these can cause heart failure. It can cause more hospital visits, and ultimately it can cause premature death. So just to understand a little bit about TTR, so we can understand how the treatments work and how the disease progresses. So transthyretin, this is a normal protein that's made predominantly in the liver. And this normal protein is also called prealbumin, and it is important for everyday health and function. It is involved in transporting vitamin A and thyroid hormone around the body, and therefore helps support vision, immunity, digestion, metabolism, muscle and bone health, and it provides support to the brain and nervous system in addition to the heart and circulatory system. So this protein, TTR, is made predominantly in the liver. Over 95% of it's made in the liver. Is made up of 4 parts that are joined together by strong bonds. So that when it's formed as the 4 parts together, it's a normal stable protein doing its normal job transporting vitamin A and thyroxine. Now, those bonds that hold it together as the 4 parts can become unstable, and they could break down. This can happen due to age-related, and we don't quite understand why, or it can be due to mutations in the protein, and it can make those bonds unstable. Then they break down. Once they break down, they start forming the amyloid fibrils, and those fibrils can go into the heart and other tissues, and that causes the cardiac issues, including heart failure and other issues in the heart. So the more stable you have your TTR, the less likely it is to break down, the less likely it is to cause these amyloid fibrils to deposit in various parts of your body, including the heart. So we're going to have an overview of Attruby or acoramidis for ATTR-CM. So Attruby is a prescription medication. It's used to treat adults with a disease that affects the heart, so cardiomyopathy, whether it's due to genetics, a variant type, or whether it's due to aging-related or wild-type amyloidosis. So it's used to treat ATTR-CM, regardless of whether it's genetic or not, to reduce death and hospitalization related to heart problems. It's not known if it's safe or effective in children. Luckily, it's not much of a disease that affects children. And so Attruby was designed to mimic a protective form of the TTR protein. So again, on the left, you see the TTR is made up of 4 proteins that are joined together with these strong bonds. There's a naturally occurring mutation called the T119M that helps make the TTR protein bound together more strong and makes it a more stable protein. And so if you have that natural occurring mutation, you're going to be more likely to live longer and less likely to have heart failure. So TTR bonded with Attruby, you can see on the right, when Attruby binds to TTR, it mimics this natural occurring protective mutation called the T119M. If you look at the laboratory studies, using this drug, it stabilizes over 90% of TTR proteins. And this was seen as early as 28 days and continued in the clinical trial for 30 months in the laboratory test of people that were taking Attruby. So it acts quickly and it has an enduring effect. And so of a follow people that are taking Attruby found that if you had higher TTR levels, that's associated with a better survival in patients with ATTR-CM. And if you look at people that were in the trial that were given Attruby compared to patients that were given a placebo, patients that were given the Attruby at 30 months were more likely than the placebo group to have a combination of a survival plus heart failure hospitalizations. So if you combine those 2 endpoints, patients that took Attruby were more likely to do better on those 2 endpoints combined. This is a clinical study, a randomized trial using patients with either a hereditary or wild type, non-hereditary ATTR-CM. And if you look at the impacts on survival and heart failure hospitalization due to heart failure, this was seen as early as 3 months after starting the trial. And if you look at other results comparing Attruby with the placebo in the clinical trial, at 30 months, people that were taking Attruby had an 81% survival rate compared to 74% for the placebo group. So, and then they had 50% fewer hospitalizations related to heart issues and better health-related quality of life compared to patients that took the placebo. And if you look at the health-related quality of life, patients reported better results across a variety of measures compared to the patients in the placebo groups. This included improvement in symptoms such as shortness of breath and fatigue, physical abilities, simply able to walk a block or do simple household chores. Patients that were on Attruby were more likely to do those than patients that were in the placebo, and were more able to enjoy typical social engagement, doing things outside the house with their friends and family. And these changes in quality of life were first observed approximately 3 months after starting medications. The side effects that may include diarrhea and abdominal pain. For most patients, these are mild and went away, and they were able to continue taking Attruby. The dosing is 712 milligrams twice a day, so it's 2 pills in the morning, 2 pills in the evening. They should be swallowed whole, and it's important to take it as prescribed. There's an adherence pack. You can see a picture of what it looks like. And so just to get into the routine of taking it regularly.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Trachtenberg. Next up, I'd like to introduce Ken. Ken will be sharing about his story about ATTR-CM and his experience in the clinical trial for Attruby. Please note that Ken is a participant in a clinical trial evaluating Attruby in ATTR-CM. He'll be sharing his unique experience today. Of course, his experience may be different from other patients that are starting Attruby. So, Ken, it's over to you, my man.
I'd like to thank Dan for providing me the opportunity to tell my story. I hope that by sharing what I've learned, I can encourage others to find and work with a doctor who understands transthyretin amyloidosis, or ATTR. In 2013 and 2016, I had rotator cuff surgeries, first on my right shoulder, then on my left. After the second surgery, I experienced shortness of breath, and it made exercising difficult. I blamed myself for not pushing hard enough to recover from the surgery. I should say, however, that most of the ATTR patients I've met have also had carpal tunnel or rotator cuff surgery, or as in my case, both. If I'd sought a reason for the underlying cause of these surgeries, I might have discovered the disease earlier, but I didn't. Instead, in December of 2016, I had a stroke. Subsequent hospital tests revealed AFib, an enlarged heart, and an inefficient heart. Blood pooling in my heart had led to a clot. That clot traveled to my brain and caused the stroke. 5 months of tests followed, and a heart biopsy in May confirmed that I had ATTR-CM. The cardiologist who had guided me through the testing process apologized, saying, "I don't know how to treat it." A second opinion doctor provided a worse prognosis. He simply said, "There is no treatment." I started thinking about making arrangements so things would be easier for Mary and my family as the disease progressed. A further test determined that I had wild-type, non-hereditary ATTR. Good news for a change. In October of 2017, Mary and I attended a support group meeting. One of the presenters was a local doctor who clearly knew a lot about amyloidosis. During an intermission, I asked him if he was taking new patients. He was, and I became one. At our first visit, he said, "There is no FDA-approved treatment, but let's try some things." And we did. In April of 2018, he noted my heart was doing a poor job of pumping fluid out of my body. He put me in the hospital for fluid reduction treatment, and in 5 days, I lost 40+ pounds. None of the things we were trying seemed to help. I was losing ground. I struggled to climb even a single flight of stairs without pausing halfway up to catch my breath. And our bedroom's on the second floor. Then the doctor told me about a phase 2 clinical trial for a drug now called Attruby. He was clear that the drug being tested was a stabilizer, meaning it was not designed to cure my ATTR, but to slow down its progression. My choice was easy. In May of 2018, I joined the trial. Since starting daily treatment with Attruby, I've been pleased with the results. I haven't needed to be hospitalized, and I haven't had any of the side effects Dr. Heckenberg mentioned. Today, I walk Tony and Cleo at least a mile every morning. We don't walk fast, but I blame the dogs for that. Still, I have the breath to do it. I'm functioning better than I was 7 years ago. That's just my experience. Everyone's different and results can vary. There's no cure for ATTR-CM. Going research and treatments like Attruby, we're getting closer. I'm grateful that through my clinical study, participation, and Attruby experience have been a small part of that progress. So my thanks to BridgeBio, and thanks to Dan Lear, and thanks for all listening for their time and attention.
Oh, you're so welcome, Ken. What a great story. And thank you for sharing. Our next speaker today is Heather Polk. And I got a chance to meet Heather at the BridgeBio offices, and she's a superstar, and I'm excited for y'all to meet Heather. She leads a field-based team at BridgeBio that's focused on providing personalized support to patients. The team support focuses on access and affordability programs and helping patients stay on track throughout the entirety of their journey with Attruby. Heather, it's over to you.
Want to express gratitude to you and Dave for hosting a tremendous event, and also thank you. I'm just really wowed by the crowd. Forging Bridges is BridgeBio's comprehensive patient support program. Once you and your physician have decided Attruby is right for you, we are able to support patients of a wide variety of insurance types, but including patients who may not have insurance. 3 of the most common financial support programs that we work to support patients through are copay assistance. Those would be for commercially insured patients who might pay as little as $0 out of pocket. We have a patient assistance program, also known as PAP. That would be for eligible patients, and Attruby would be at no cost to those patients. And then another common program would be Quick Start. So Quick Start is for patients who might have a coverage delay, and there would be a limited supply of Attruby available to those patients at no cost. Before we move on to the next slide, I just want to ask on my next 2 slides, I do have contact information here. You can scan a QR code, you can write down the website, forgingbridges.com, but also feel free to call in. We're always just as close as a call away. 1-800, or excuse me, 1-888-552-7434. Those lines are accessible to patients and care partners Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next slide, please. I believe one of the hallmarks of the Forging Bridges program is the personalized support provided by our patient access liaisons. All 6 of them who are working across the nation are represented here on the screen. The beauty of them is that they provide one-on-one support based on your unique needs. They provide educational resources on disease, ATTRCM, the product Attruby, and then provide personalized support based on the unique circumstances of your insurance coverage. We assist patients as soon as their prescription is written. We help navigate them through the insurance process. And while I mentioned 3 programs, we also review a wide variety of other financial programs that patients might be eligible for. Lastly, our support does not end once you have started Attruby. We support you throughout the entirety of your journey, checking in at key points agreed upon between the PAL and the patient.
Just to summarize, things we've discussed, looking at the clinical trial and the data with the Attruby. If you looked at people that were treated with the Attruby compared to those that weren't treated with the placebo, patients in Attruby were more likely to have a better survival and fewer hospitalizations due to heart issues and better health-related quality of life. Side effects, again, may include some mild abdominal pain and diarrhea. Almost all patients were still able to take Attruby. We discussed the Forging Bridge Assistance Program if you don't have the right type of insurance, or even if you don't have insurance. And those are really the main takeaways, and we'll be happy to answer whatever questions we can.
So first of all, I want to thank Dr. Trachtenberg for an incredible session, as always. And thank you, Ken, for your story. Very inspirational. And thank you, Heather, for your for what you just shared. I was having some feedback there. All right. So we've got some questions in the chat box. And one of the most popular questions is, Dr. Trachtenberg, this is for you. Some people on this session are on other medications for ATTR-CM. How does Attruby compare with other treatments available for ATTR-CM?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, it's a great question. I know that's the one that everyone wants to know. We don't really know because none of the trials have, the only way to answer these questions is do a trial comparing one medication directly to another medication in a clinical trial where half the patients get one med, half the patients get the other med, and the patients are all similar in terms of age and gender and race and sickness and how much, amyloid they have. And that's never been done. So we're comparing, apples and oranges when we talk about the trials because they're different, slightly different patient populations. And so we don't really know how it compares to other medications because that hasn't been studied.
Got another fairly popular question here for you, Dr. Trachtenberg. Can I take Attruby and still take my other medications?
Well, so that's a question I would recommend they talk to their doctor about. It depends on what the other medications are. So there aren't a lot of interactions with Attruby, but it just depends if you're taking a medication that does the same thing or does a different thing. So I would encourage anyone that is wondering about that to speak to their amyloid specialist and ask them about it.
When will I see improvements in my symptoms, and how long does Attruby typically take to work?
Well, first of all, the clinical trial was done over 30 months. The statistics were designed to study it over 30 months. And so it was effective, over 30 months. That said, you started to see a change in comparing the patients in placebo compared to the changes in Attruby. Around 3 months, you started to see a separation in those. But again, this is across hundreds of patients. Looking at them globally, everyone's different. That doesn't mean you'll feel better in 3 months, but that was when we started to see a change in the trial. So the answer is, you may feel better within a few months. It may take longer, or it may just kind of keep you from feeling worse, and you may not necessarily reverse some of the symptoms that you're having. It just depends. Everyone reacts differently, and there's no, one answer for everyone. And some of that depends on how far your disease was before you started treatment. Because we know if you started earlier, you're going to do better no matter what treatment you have. Compared to if it's caught late in the game, it's going to be harder to make as much of a gain as you would have had you started earlier.
Absolutely. We're always talking about early diagnosis here. So obviously that fits right in line. Next question is for Heather. Heather, my question is, will my insurance cover Attruby, and how much will it cost for me?
So that's a great question. And I would just start with insurance varies person to person. And what we are committed to here at BridgeBio is offering support to patients regardless of your insurance type. For those who are prescribed Attruby, please reach out to Forging Bridges program so that we can support you in your unique circumstances. Again, that number to reach out is 1-888 552-7434. You can connect with a Forging Bridges specialist, or you can ask to speak to your local patient access liaison. That patient access liaison can talk to you over the phone, set up a virtual session, or would be happy to meet with you in person. If there happen to be any Spanish-speaking patients, we do have 2 team members who are bilingual and can support them as well. But what would be reviewed is the insurance of that patient, helping them understand what financial programs they would be eligible based on their insurance type, and then how to just stay on track once we get them approved and into the appropriate affordability program.
Wow, that's fantastic. I do have a follow-up question for you, Heather. And the question is, what if I cannot afford to pay for Attruby?
If you could not afford, affordability could vary. So could you not afford your copay? Do you just not have insurance? Again, it's going to vary person to person, but want to review 3 of the most common programs. So copay for commercially insured patients, their cost could potentially be as low as $0 out of pocket upon approval from their insurer. We do have a patient assistance program, underinsured or uninsured patients, and then based on financial situation of each patient, they might be available to Attruby at no cost. And then lastly, we do have a quick start program. A quick start program would enable limited access to patients if they are experiencing a delay in approval from their insurance. Again, very highly variable by patient. There's no specific answer that I can offer that would be applicable for every patient. So please reach out to the program. And again, a Forging Bridges specialist or patient access liaison would be very happy to support you in your unique needs. That again, they can be contacted via forgingbridges.com or 888-552-7434.
Thank you, Heather. That's fantastic. I've got a question for Dr. Trachtenberg. The question is, you talked a bit about stabilization. Can you tell me more about why is stabilizing the TTR protein important?
So, stabilizing TTR protein is important, because it's a protein that does have normal functions. We can, account for those if we don't have the TTR protein, but it is, ideal to keep it in its normal form, and because it does transport those 2 vitamins we talked about, vitamin A and thyroxine.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I tell you what, I'm sitting here listening to all this amazing information, somebody that was diagnosed in 2017 with very limited options. And I'm so amazed at the progress and what's possible and what's available for patients now. So very exciting. I want to thank you, Dr. Trachtenberg, and Heather, for you, and Ken for your amazing contributions. And if I could have everybody that's on the session, if you could go down and unmute yourself real quickly. I would like for you to help me and give Dr. Trachtenberg and Heather and Ken a big round of applause for their work today.
Yay.
Awesome.
Oh,
Awesome.
no.
Thank you.
I
Thank
just
you.
want to express
you.
gratitude for this community. Dan and Dave, what you have created here is amazing. And I love the
you.
engagement and the passion represented here. So it's truly been a privilege. Thank you.
Yeah,
You're
I
so
want to
welcome.
echo that. It's incredible to see the amboy community is definitely unique and special to have, this many people turn out and ask questions and be engaged. And it's remarkable to see. And it really is an honor to get to speak to you guys tonight. And thank you to Dan, and thank you to BridgeBio for having me be here. I really enjoy it.
Thank you,
Dr.
Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Dan,
Dan.
this did get
Thank you.
recorded, is
Great job,
that correct?
Thank you, Dan.
Our best
you.
night of the week, Dan, our date with Dan, Wednesday night.